The transport pod had crashed 3 hours ago, leaving Lena cross-stranded on a planet that wasn't supposed to exist on any star chart. Her captors, a group of Zelthian smugglers, had fled the wreckage immediately, leaving her chained inside the twisted metal hull. They knew what hunted these forests. They knew she wouldn't survive the night. Lena had managed to break free from her restraints using a piece of jagged debris, her hands bleeding from the effort. Now she stumbled through the alien wilderness, her breath forming clouds in the frigid air. The trees here were massive, their bark crystalline and sharp, reflecting the light of 3 moons overhead. Every sound made her flinch. Every shadow seemed alive. Then she heard it, the howl. It wasn't like any wolf howl from Earth. This sound carried a resonance that vibrated through her chest, a primal frequency that spoke of ancient hunger and merciless efficiency. More howls answered, surrounding her position. Lena's heart hammered as she pressed her back against one of the crystal trees, its cold surface biting through her torn flight suit. They emerged from the darkness like nightmares given form. The creatures stood nearly 3 meters tall at the shoulder, their bodies covered in scales that shifted between obsidian black and deep purple. 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows glowed with bioluminescent amber, and their jaws, when they opened to taste the air, revealed rows of serrated teeth designed to tear through starship hull plating. Their movements were fluid, coordinated, intelligent. These were the Krovnath, the apex predators of Theta Draconis IV, the alien wolves that had driven 3 separate colonization attempts to catastrophic failure. Lena counted 8 of them circling her position. The largest one, distinguished by a crown of bone spikes along its skull and scars that told stories of countless battles, stepped forward. This was clearly the pack leader, the Alpha, his eyes fixed on her with an intelligence that was deeply unsettling. "Easy," Lena whispered, though her voice shook. "I'm not food. I'm just trying to survive." The Alpha, whom she would later learn was called Varric among his kind, tilted his massive head. His nostrils flared, analyzing her scent. The pack tightened their circle, waiting for their leader's command to strike. Then something unexpected happened. Lena didn't run. Every survival instinct screamed at her to bolt, to fight, to do something. But she had read the reports during her captivity, accessed through a stolen datapad. She knew about the Krovnath. She knew they respected strength, not fear. She knew they hunted creatures that fled. So she stood tall. Despite her bleeding hands and exhausted body, she met Varric's gaze directly, refusing to look away. And then she did something that would change everything. She howled. It was a human howl, raw and defiant, nothing like the resonant calls of the Krovnath. It was the sound of a creature that refused to die quietly, that claimed its right to exist in this hostile universe. It was the sound of humanity's stubborn resilience echoing through an alien forest. The pack froze. Varric's ears, which had been pinned back in hunting mode, suddenly perked forward. His 6 eyes widened slightly. The other wolves looked to their leader, confused by this tiny creature's audacity. Lena's howl faded into the night, leaving only the sound of her ragged breathing. She kept her eyes locked on Varric, her chin raised. If she was going to die, she would die as a human, unbowed. Varric took a step closer, then another. His massive head lowered until his eyes were level with hers, close enough that she could feel his breath, warm and carrying the scent of metal and ozone. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Varric did something that his pack had never seen him do before. He lowered his head further in a gesture that among the Krovnath signified recognition. Not submission, but acknowledgement of another predator, another alpha spirit. The pack murmured among themselves, their vocal cords producing sounds between growls and speech. Lena didn't understand their language, but she understood the body language. They were confused, intrigued. No prey had ever done this before. Varric turned and barked a command to his pack. The circle broke. The wolves didn't retreat, but they gave her space. The Alpha looked back at Lena one more time, and in that gaze she saw something remarkable. Curiosity. Respect. He wanted to see what this strange, tiny creature would do next. Lena realized she was holding her breath. She released it slowly, her legs nearly buckling from the adrenaline crash, but she forced herself to remain standing. She had survived the first test, but she was still stranded on a deadly planet with no shelter, no supplies, and no way to call for help. Varric made a low, rumbling sound, then began walking away from her deeper into the forest. After a few steps, he stopped and looked back, his meaning clear. Follow. Lena's rational mind told her this was insane. These were predators, killers that had wiped out hundreds of colonists. Following them was suicide. But her instincts, those deep human instincts forged over millions of years of evolution alongside wolves on Earth, told her something different. She had been accepted, temporarily perhaps, but accepted nonetheless. She took a step forward, then another. The pack parted to let her pass, their eyes tracking her every movement. She walked past creatures that could tear her apart with a single swipe, her heart pounding but her stride steady. Varric's tail, a massive appendage covered in armored plates, swayed once. Among the Krovanath, this was approval. As they moved through the crystal forest together, an unlikely procession of alien predators and one human girl, Lena Cross understood something profound. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or weapons. It was the ability to look into the eyes of the universe's deadliest creatures and refuse to blink. It was the audacity to claim kinship with monsters. It was the stubborn, defiant, unimaginable courage to howl back at the night. And sometimes, just sometimes, the night howled back in recognition. The rescue team would find her 3 days later, alive and unharmed, sleeping in a cave surrounded by 8 Krovnath who watched over her like she was one of their own. The xenobiologists would spend years trying to understand what had happened in that forest, but Lena already knew. She had shown them what it meant to be human. And for one night, that had been enough.